What up, what up, what up? How are y'all doing? I'm doing great as usual. If you don't know, today is February 22nd. This is 1 year after the Wilder Fury 2 fight. 1 whole year. And we still have certain people in the YouTube boxing community that are in denial. They can't move on. Their hero, their king, got beaten. And it started making me believe that these certain people, most of you know, but if you don't, the LDBC community. These people are the ultimate trolls when it comes to boxing. They're not fans. They're fans of a couple fighters, and that's it. And in this past year, these certain channels have done everything in their power to try to ruin boxing because they think their man, Deontay Wilder, got cheated in the rematch. Well, newsflash, Deontay Wilder did not get cheated. He got beat fair and square by the better fighter. And you guys just can't accept it. So in this past year, these clowns have been bringing up every old piece of dirt on the sport of boxing and trying to tag Tyson Fury along with it. You know, we've talked about it on this channel before, the loaded gloves, the spiked water, not having his hands all the way in the glove and hitting him in the wrist with the wrist part of the glove. I mean, you name it, these guys have said it all. And after every excuse that they come out with, it gets debunked. So after they've ran through all these excuses that they've had about 20 excuses. So many that I can't even remember all of them. But what they do, they come down to the point of saying boxing is ultimately a racist sport. Now, I'm not in the sport of boxing, but looking at it from the outside, I would say boxing is definitely not racist. There is many, if not most, champions that are of color, either Mexican or African American or any other ethnicity besides white. And a lot of the highest paid fighters out there are fighters of color. So I don't subscribe to that theory at all, that boxing is racist. But these guys do. And they do it because they have ran out of bullshit excuses for their hero, Deontay Wilder. And like I said before, these channels want to call everybody else haters that don't agree with their bullshit. We're not Deontay Wilder haters. We do not like you guys and your channels. A lot of us still like Deontay. I mean, he's come down a couple rungs on the ladder because he's agreed with a lot of the bullshit you guys have been saying. But ultimately, we were all Deontay Wilder fans, even after the loss. He's an exciting fighter. How can you not be a fan of his? But you guys are ruining your champion. I've said it. And I'll believe that till the day I die. You guys ruined Deontay Wilder. Now, after Deontay Wilder lost to Tyson Fury, there was a few boxing pundits and people in the sport that said Wilder might not fight again. I didn't think that to be true, but we're a year later. He hasn't moved away from Fury. He's still stuck on this, oh, I got cheated and poor me. And some people saying that he's going a little bit crazy, a little bit cuckoo. And part of it is because he's listening to these dumbass channels. Now, a lot of these channels I still watch because I like boxing. a lot of these channels I watch because some of it is just absolutely hilarious. And there's a few that I watch just because they get interviews with certain people in the business. Now, the one channel who I disagree with on 98% of everything he says is a channel by the name of Barbershop Conversations, Fred Hawthorne. I don't like his content. I don't like where he tries to steer his audience in the direction. Everything that comes out of that channel comes down to race. And that's not helping the sport of boxing. And quite frankly, I don't think it helps society. But I do watch his channel because when he gets interviews, he does a very good job. He's a great interviewer. So you have to be realistic. Yes, I do not agree with what he says, but he does great interviews, and he doesn't hold back on his interviews. So for that, I respect him as a man. Don't respect the content that he puts out, but I do like the interviews. And the other day, he did an interview with Bob Arum. And of course, Wilder Fury 3 got brought up again. And I think the question was something along the lines of, how's mediation going with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury? And I've said this weeks ago that there is no mediation. It's done and over with. And what did Bob Arum say? Mediation? That's been over. There is no mediation. And you see Fred's eyes kind of light up like, wow. But it's the truth. There is no mediation. Bob Arum used to be a powerful attorney. Tyson Fury, Top Rank, Queensberry, they all got lawyers on their team. And I'm assuming they're not dummy lawyers. And if they all look at the contract and they all say the contract expired, then there is no mediation. And like Bob said, there is no mediation, but I can't stop someone from going to court. But nonetheless, we're moving on with AJ Fury, the biggest fight in boxing. A fight that can help the sport of boxing. None of this nonsense about looking back and cheating, that doesn't help the sport of boxing one bit. All it does is give something for these fangirl channels to talk about and get clicks. So I'm more interested on moving on, looking towards Fury and AJ, a fight that will help the sport of boxing. But Bob Arum, of course, said, yes, there is no mediation. That's over with. And there's some people out there that are still delusional, saying, yeah, Wilder's going to court. Wilder's going to get $32 million. Come on. If there was really a case to be had by Deontay Wilder, why would Eddie Hearn, Top Rank, Queensberry, Sky Sports, ESPN, all these people involved with making the biggest fight that could be made, why would they all be trying to make this fight if Deontay Wilder really had a case? You think they'd waste their time? You think these people are dumb? They don't know what they're doing? So, certain fangirls out there need to get it in their head. It's over with. The best thing Deontay Wilder can do is to move on and start fighting. He's got 2 huge fights out there that he can make. Andy Ruiz Jr. and the winner of Dillian White and Povetkin. Now, if he has any of those fights, it shoots him back up to the top again. He'll be right there if he wins. But for some reason, he's not doing it. Why is he not doing it? Because he decided to stick it out with PBC. And I don't think PBC can pay his... I don't think the PBC can pay his guarantee without pay-per-view. So he needs to have a pay-per-view fight. And where are they going to get the numbers to pay Deontay Wilder at least $20 million if he doesn't fight Ruiz or Dillian White? He needs those 2 fights. So unless those two fights are available to him, I don't think we're going to see Deontay Wilder fight again. Deontay Wilder's not going to fight for $25 million against Fury. Now all of a sudden he's going to fight for 3 or 4. It's just not going to happen. And if he doesn't fight Ruiz or White, the pay-per-view numbers are probably going to be 300,000. He'd probably make 6 to 8 million if he fights anyone except those two guys, in my mind. Or maybe the winner of Joyce and Usyk. But the point of this video is it's been a year since the Wilder Fury 2 fight, and it's really time to move on. I mean, it's very clear that the rest of the sport of boxing is moving on. It's very clear that there is no court case and that it's done and over with. If the contract expired, Wilder's not getting no money, not $32 million, not $32. It's done and over with. So let's start looking forward to the middle of June for the biggest fight that boxing can put on. And I think within the next week or so, we'll probably get that announcement. And be looking forward to a fully undisputed heavyweight champion. And that's what we need in the sport of boxing. And another note that these channels like to say is, well, they've been working on this fight supposedly. Why ain't they announcing it? Why ain't they talking about it? Well, Frank Warren did an interview this morning that I saw, and he says in the contract it stipulates that they have a gag order until the fight is made. They have a gag order until all 3 companies and networks decide to do an announcement. And it makes sense. You don't want one company to come out and make the announcement before anybody else. So I think they're all trying to get on the same page on how they're going to announce it. Is it going to be a big show? Is it just going to go out simply on social media? But they can't do it one before another. So that's another reason why. It ain't mediation holding this up. It's just they're trying to finalize the deal, and none of these promoters, Bob, Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, none of them can jump ahead of the other and make the announcement. It's probably in the contract. At least the gag order is, according to Frank Warren. So he ain't saying anything about the fight. They keep asking, but he says it's in the contract. I'm not going to be the one to break the contract. So that's where we stand a year later. Wilder, Fury. The third fight is not happening anytime soon. Fury and AJ are going to fight twice this year. So Deontay Wilder, he should fight twice this year as well. And look ahead to 2022. And that's it. That's my rant. And so yeah, that's my rant on this subject. I figured I'd just put out a quick video because there's a lot of other channels doing this year anniversary Fury Wilder videos. So I'm going to make mine short and sweet. Yes, I got a name for my little segment at the end of each of my videos. Boxing fights that casual fans might not know. I've been giving out a few here and there at the end of my videos. I'm going to start calling them bandwagon fights. The bandwagon fights. Alright? These are fights that casual fans should go and look up. And they're all great fights. And I call them bandwagon fights. So if you watch them, you'll start falling in love with the sport. And the more fans, the better. So this video's bandwagon fights are going to be Morales Barrera. There's 3 of those fights. All 3 of them are good. So Eric Morales versus Barrera, the babyface assassin. So that's this week bandwagon fight for you guys. Go check that out. And also, please like, subscribe, and share. Like I always say, help out a new channel. This is Moore's House. Peace.